Hey guys, RJ here, and if you like watching me build miniatures and dioramas, as well as everything else, then it'd be pretty cool if you could give me a like and a sub on the video. If you have any questions that I don't answer, be sure to leave them in the comment section, and I can try my best to respond. Now, I was actually watching that tank movie with Brad Pitt and Shia LaBeouf. I think it's called Fury. But anyways, that's where I came up with the inspiration for this build. Although the tank itself actually looks more like something from the Warhammer 40k universe, because fantasy and sci-fi are my favorite genres. Well, at least to design models for. But nonetheless, something about watching all the death and destruction caused by a simple machine and its crew made me roll on over to Blender and design this dude up. A lot of times when I'm designing stuff, like the tracks per se that I'm designing here, I'll usually just put in a placeholder, just so that way it doesn't look so weird and I can kind of check the proportions on it. And then later on during the video you'll see that I actually add like a ton of detail into it. But just to start with, I just wanted to put a placeholder there so that way, I can kind of just gauge the whole proportions and things like that. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that usually the first half of any design is me just blocking it out. I kind of keep things like really basic so I can change the shape, and then once I have like a good shape that I want, that's when I start designing more details like the panels and the rivets that you'll see me put on. For a lot of the details, kind of like the panels, I like to just add it right on top rather than going in and like modifying the geometry. I do it this way because since I'm 3D printing, I'm gonna remesh it all anyway. So it kind of doesn't matter if I like just smash a bunch of objects together and things like that, because when you remesh it, it's gonna join everything all into one mesh anyway. And that is by far the most time consuming process of the whole project, of any project I ever have. It's hard to get it right, and sometimes my computer crashes, and it can be a big mess, really. But that's kind of why I just build things right on top instead of actually, like I said, going in and editing the faces around and extruding things and stuff like that. Putting the tracks on the tank was probably the most painstaking process of making the whole thing. I know there's a lot of procedural stuff you can do with arrays and curves and things like that to get it to perfectly fit around the wheels and splines and everything like that. But for me, I just kind of, I was winging it really, and I didn't want to spend the time to go back through and relearn all that stuff. I did used to know how to do it, but after so long of like relearning things and then forgetting and then going back and having to study it again, I kind of just decided to do it this way, where I made two pieces that interlocked, and then once I did that, it was pretty easy to line all the pieces up. absolute ton of these little rivets all over the model. This had to be the most time-consuming thing of the whole project. And man, you guys are lucky I cut most of it out, because it would have been just an hour and a half of me placing little dots all over the model. But in the end, I did like the detail that it added, and it made it look more realistic and gave it kind of like a, you know, factory machine feel to it. After I finished most of the detail for the tank, I opened up a new project and started building this weapon for it. I knew I was going to probably put this on a couple places on the tank. I think I actually did end up putting it in two. There's like two different miniguns on there. Same object, just scaled differently and, you know, positioned a little differently. A lot of times it's easier to open up a new project because the original one gets so cluttered with all the details, and since I don't really name a lot of the objects and go through and do that, it gets kind of confusing. So sometimes it's easier just to start up a new project if I'm going to add any little details that are going to take a minute to build. Then once I was done building the minigun, I went ahead and imported it over, and that's when I put it on. Now, as I was sitting back admiring my work, I kind of noticed some more places where I should probably put some more rivets so there's more detail and it looks all uniform. So that's kind of how I finished this project, was just adding more rivets, believe it or not. But in the end, you know, the extra detail does help, and it did help it look all more uniform, like I said before, that it just came out of the factory and all the rivets are fresh and perfectly placed. And on that note, that's pretty much all the detail I put into this model. Now be sure to keep an eye on my channel, because I'll be releasing a part 2 where I add more bits and guns and variations to the tank head. But with that, I called it done. after I printed it, cured it, cleaned it, I slapped on a coat of Zenithal Prime and a quick dry brush, and this is the final result. If you guys are interested in downloading this model, then be sure to check the description. I'll leave a link down there. Any proceeds from my cults page goes right into making more content. And also, if you guys could like and subscribe, like I said earlier, that would really help me out and let me know that I'm on the right track. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one.